what has already been instilled in society from time immemorial.
Yeah, well, Ron, are you suggesting that things be erased, or what?
No, of course not. No, of course not. I'm a historian. I'm a historian of ideas, and I'm keenly aware of the fact that religion has been an essential aspect of human history. That's fine. It's as it had to be. Now what? What about the human future? Where do we stand now?
Let me tell you where we stand now. The future is that the same Jesus and God we've been talking about, it has fixed a day when he's going to come back in person, and you will encounter him in person one day, and you will give an account of your belief and your lifestyle to him in a personal way. Let's see if that doesn't happen.
And Ron, in Oldsmar, do you think that Ron Aronson is in trouble because of his thinking?
He could be in a lot of trouble for choosing not to believe in a God who has made himself so real in nature and in human conscience, and he's denying and rejecting that.
And what will God do, Ron?
Oh, he would be judged. He would be cast into hell. He would be eternally cut off from God, because when he had a chance to believe and repent of his sins and make it right with God, he is instead fighting the concept of wanting to believe and serve God, because man's original purpose was for God's pleasure, was to please God and serve God. And there has been a fall. There has been a falling away from that, where man has lost that God likeness, where he's become a sinner and cruel. And that God is offering man an opportunity to come back to his original state. That is by seeking to reestablish a relationship with God himself. That is what I have had at age 17. And I'm keeping that relationship alive. Ron, the professor, can have such an experience if he would only seek after it.
All right. Well, Ron and Oldsmar, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming on WMNF.
You're welcome.
All right. Good to hear from you. 813-239-9663 is our phone number. Caller, you're on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Greetings. It's Clay from Land of Used to Be Lakes. How are you?
Good, Clay. We've got every line lit, so make it quick, please.
The gentleman that was just on the phone, I think that he professes in things that it would have been nice to have questioned him, as whether or not he supports torture, whether or not he supports war, whether or not he supports all those things that Jesus wouldn't support. Because I find the Christian community is so accepting of those kinds of issues, as if somehow God had warranted it, and I don't see people that don't do it. Now, the reason I called, though, is Ron, the professor there, I wanted to point out something. When you speak about the relationship between man and nature, I wonder if you know that the American doesn't have a word for nature. The Native Americans, the reason they don't have a word for nature is because that would be to separate themselves from it. And I think that's what's really happened to us in our society and with religion, is that we found that we are something different from it. In other words, we don't realize we are an exact part of nature, and that it is us and we are it.
That's very good.
That concept?
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that's very good.
And we're part of the universe, and I very much believe in what you're trying to relate to people, is that giving people a place to be able to understand what their relationship was in the universe. And religion, unfortunately, has come, in my mind, to become the root of all evil. Organized religion is a scourge upon the planet. He talks about Christianity and God being involved in our lives in time immemorial. Look at all the wonderful things we've done in the name of God, the Holy Crusades. What we're doing now in Iraq and Afghanistan, you got generals over there that are preaching that this is a holy war and passing out Bibles and trying to convert people from Islam while they're over there killing people. I mean, we've gone completely out of control with religion. I mean, there's the burning times, there's the Spanish Inquisitions, it just goes on, and the horrible things that have been done in the name of God.
All right, Clay, thanks a lot. Thanks for your phone call.
I do well.
All right, good to hear from you. Ron, did you want to comment about anything that Clay just said?
No, as I said, I agreed with his sense of our connection with and being part of the universe. I don't agree that religion is the source of all evil today. I think there are a lot of people who are motivated religiously to make the world a better place and participate in struggles against wars and on behalf of social justice because of the religious conviction.
Well, we're talking with Ron Aronson, author of the new book, Living Without God, and he'll be speaking here in the Tampa Bay area in the next few days. Caller, you're on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Ryan, St. Pete.
Hi, Ryan.
First of all, Professor, I wanted to give some kudos to you. I think if people of religion and non-religion had an attitude more similar to yours, I think it would be a much easier argument to have. When we have atheists that are out there attacking people of religion, trying to take religion out of everything they can possibly do, and then we have people of religion who are attacking every atheist, and just similar to how you had there, and you were being accused a few minutes ago of taking away something spiritual that the one gentleman experienced. If it was that spiritual, you saying that you think it was being more nature wouldn't affect his experience. I think if more people would come in with that attitude and say, hey, you know what, this is how I believe, I'm not going to try and change your mind, those of you that do, that are Christians or Muslims or Buddha or whatever, but it's your power to believe that, but I'm out here to do this. I think that's a great attitude to have, like I say, that would make this world a lot easier if everyone of both religion and non-religion would carry on that same attitude and say, hey, to each your own.
All right.
Thanks for your comment, Ryan. I agree with that. I want to say a little more. Thing we have to realize is that believers are not going away anytime soon, nor are non-believers. We both have to share not only the planet, but we have to share this country. We're part of it. We're going to be here. We belong here.
And there's a place for both of them, for everybody.
Exactly.
I don't think that any of them, nor any of them, should go away.
Right. So we have to learn. Right. I was not disagreeing. I was sort of picking up on what you said and saying from what you said, one of the things that's worth doing is trying to find common ground between believers and non-believers. What do we share? Where do we agree? And where do we disagree? Plus, the tens of millions of people in between who are sometimes non-believers and sometimes believers and who live in a gray area, spend most of their lives without religion, and sometimes do feel religious. And those people probably agree with me most of their day, but sometimes don't. Now, I think it's really important that we be in communication.
And I think you're doing a great service in the majority of what you're saying there.
All right, Ryan, thanks a lot. Let me read this email from Nancy. She disagrees. She says Rob's guest today should talk to people like Betty Eady, who wrote the book Embraced by the Light, Minister Don Piper, an ex-art professor who wrote My Descent into Death. They all had near-death experiences and went to heaven, and except for Don, talked to Jesus. There are others as well. Daniel Brinkley is another who had been a non-believer, but after being struck by lightning and going to heaven and being helped by spiritual guides, has definitely become a believer. Possibly God sent non-believers to earth purposely blocking their knowledge of heaven for any number of reasons. I have had heavenly contacts that took away my doubts. What Betty Eady describes as social evolution fits perfectly into what I experienced. That's Nancy's take out there in cyberspace.
Yeah, I would ask Nancy to buy my book and to read the chapter Dying Without God, to talk about how one faces death and dying who is not religious.
Yeah, give us one idea from that chapter.
One idea from that chapter is that if we face the reality that this world is all we have and this life is all we have, we are encouraged by that experience to live as intensely and as fully as possible. If we're living with the sense that I can always undo or change because I have an afterlife and because there's a world beyond this world, there's a tendency to make this world less precious, less powerful, less meaningful. And so my goal is to say yes to life as fully as possible.
Let's take one more call for our guest, Ron Aronson. Caller, you're on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name's Nick, and I live in St. Petersburg.
Hi, Nick.
And thanks for having me on the air. But your guest earlier said that plant cells and animals are, were essentially the same, and they're not.